Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today, Moscow was hit by a massive attack involving dozens of drones. In my opinion, this marks an escalation of the war. It's clear that the deep state has decided the war must continue and possibly even intensify. At least 3 people have been killed in the Moscow region in what appears to be the largest drone attack on the Russian capital Ukraine has launched so far during the war. But that's not the only news I bring in this video. I'll share the most important geopolitical updates from the past few days. We'll cover critical developments for the United States, Europe, and the Middle East. New updates on the war in Ukraine, news from the US, and the latest controversial decisions in the Middle East. It's becoming increasingly evident how interconnected these issues are. We are talking about the war in Europe, the European Union's massive push for rearmament, the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, and major global financial matters. Let's break it all down step by step. The idea of the United States pulling out of NATO is no longer just a fringe theory. It's becoming a real talking point among influential figures. One of the most surprising voices joining this debate is Elon Musk. The billionaire entrepreneur, known for his close ties to conservative circles, suggested that the US should reconsider its role in NATO. For years, Trump and his allies have argued that NATO disproportionately benefits Europe at the expense of American taxpayers. Now that Trump is back in the White House, could this mean the end of America's role in NATO? If so, what would that mean for Europe's security and the balance of power between the West and Russia? Some analysts argue that NATO could survive without the US, but let's be honest, America funds the bulk of NATO's military budget, 65%. A US exit would mean NATO loses its biggest military power, and in a time of rising global conflicts, that could leave Europe vulnerable. If America steps back, would Europe be ready to stand on its own? President Trump made headlines with his address to Congress, touching on key issues like the economy, rising energy prices, and his proposal for a Ukraine peace deal. But perhaps the biggest takeaway, his call to re-evaluate NATO's role in global security. This isn't the first time Trump has questioned NATO's relevance, but now, as he is in the White House, his rhetoric is turning into real policy proposals. Could Trump's second term mean the end of America's commitment to Europe? And if so, what does that mean for the rest of the world? For years, Ukraine has relied on billions in US military and economic aid, but now that support is disappearing. The White House has announced a stunning policy shift. Not only has the US suspended military aid to Ukraine, but there are also discussions about lifting some sanctions on Russia. This is a huge moment in global geopolitics. Does this signal a diplomatic reset, or is it simply an admission that Ukraine's war effort is falling? Washington's support for Ukraine has been a key pillar of the war effort against Russia. But now, this support might be coming to a halt. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has revealed last week that the main logistics hub supplying US weapons to Ukraine has nearly shut down, following a decision from the White House. This is big news because Poland has been a critical supply route for American weapons heading into Ukraine. If this supply chain is slowing down or even stopping, what does that mean for Ukraine's ability to defend itself? It's no secret that Donald Trump and many Republicans have been skeptical about continued aid to Ukraine. Could this be the first step in a larger withdrawal of US support? And if so, is Ukraine prepared to fight this war without America's backing? With questions surrounding US support for NATO, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled an ambitious new military spending plan. Can you imagine? 800 billions of euro to modernize Europe's defense. Is this about defense, or is this about offensive military operations against Russia in Europe, or perhaps against Iran in the Middle East? One thing is clear for me. Europe is preparing for something big. Maybe it's the creation of European army commanded centrally from Berlin or Brussels, or maybe it's something bigger. Personally, I think that Europe will be asked to join the broader conflict. America's new weapon? Bitcoin. Just a couple days ago, the US has announced the creation of its first strategic Bitcoin reserve, a bold and unexpected move that signals cryptocurrency may now be part of America's national security system. With growing concerns over global financial instability connected with the de-dollarization movement in the quite big part of the world, the US appears to be hedging its bets on cryptocurrency and decentralized assets. And there is not only Bitcoin at play. Donald Trump mentioned also a few other crypto like Ripple, Solana, Cardano and Ethereum. But what does this mean for traditional banking? And could this be the beginning of the US dollar using its global dominance? We will see. I'm pretty sure of one thing. This year is gonna be super interesting when it comes to finances. So, last week the European Council had this emergency summit, right? Since the politicians were talking behind closed doors, actually nobody knows what the actual decisions are. Secondly, what's the deal with Ukraine's president being there? This meeting is all about the EU leaders, but with Zelensky showing up, it feels like there's more going on there. After the summit, the official announcement is that the leaders of the 27 member states approved the plan to arm Europe, which was proposed by Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission. One part of von der Leyen's plan includes a loan package of 150 billion euros and gives member states the option to boost their defense spending without sticking to the EU budget rules. Overall, I think this points to a serious worsening of the crisis, maybe even an economic crash, along with rising inflation. This is simply because a lot of money will flow into the economy, but without real coverage in goods or services. The US has apparently stopped providing intelligence to Ukraine, surprising many people. For 2 years, American intelligence has been among Kyiv's main advantages in the conflict against Russia. But now, as the tensions between Washington and Kyiv grow, the White House apparently turned off the flow. Is this evidence of the United States separating from the Ukraine? And if so, what decisions, what directions the war will go from now? Or maybe this information was just to mislead Russia. As you could see from today's headlines, there was a big drone attack in Moscow. Could this happen without US support? Tensions between Europe and Russia are escalating fast. The UK officials proposed that 120 fighter jets can patrol Ukraine's skies, but this without a NATO engagement. This would not be a NATO mission. This sounds weird for me. Maybe it's just about misleading people and the enemy. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned French President Emmanuel Macron about the possibility of European troops entering Ukraine. The message was clear. Any European boots on Ukrainian soil will mean war with NATO. Now some news from Poland. Poland may soon conscript hundreds of thousands of people for military training. However, many fear that after taking the military oath, they may be used as cannon fodder. After all, it is known that Ukraine lacks soldiers. Another important issue is that Sweden announced it will provide Poland with additional fighter jets to strengthen its air defense. This raises real and serious question. Is something big coming for which Poland is being prepared so hard? As we can see from the headlines, not only Poland is preparing for something bigger. The US Pentagon is shifting its military strategy. Trump's administration is considering relocating 35,000 troops from Germany to Hungary. This move has caught a lot of attention within NATO. Now, let's talk about the Gaza Strip. The war in Gaza has been one of the most polarizing conflicts in recent history. But this weekend and last, things took a dramatic turn. Reports confirm that Israel has completely cut off humanitarian aid and electricity to Gaza, meaning no food, no water, no medicine, no power for almost 2 million people. Can you see that all this isn't just about Hamas and releasing hostages? Don't you see that it is more something like ethnic cleansing and collective punishment against all Palestinians living in Gaza Strip, including children? International humanitarian organizations are sounding the alarm. The question is, will world leaders step in, or will they continue to look the other way? That's it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time.